How's it going, Yankee fans? My name is Alex and my co-host here, Ryan Garcia. And today I want to discuss Oswald Peraza. Should he be on the playoff roster? What his impact has been up to this point? IKF obviously has kind of had a polarizing nature to this team. Defensively, he seems to make the rangy throws and rangy scenarios, but he'll botch a routine ground ball. And it's like, okay, you know what? You can't botch the routine ones and make the flashy ones because there's a lot more routine plays than there is flashy plays. So obviously, it's got to get a little bit better in that category. But offensively, he's been a lot better, specifically in the month of September. And kind of the question is, if anything were to happen to IKF, if he were to struggle considerably, really the only other person to play shortstop is Oswald Peraza. Should he be on the roster? Should he be there just in case? I think there's a pretty good argument that he should be. But Ryan, before we dive into this interesting topic, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. These games are kind of just auditions. We're seeing Peraza kind of audition himself as, a potential factor for the Yankees in the postseason. I think so far in his, short tenure with the Yankees, he's impressed in a lot of different ways. I know, at shortstop, you mentioned IKF kind of has those issues with routine plays, and we know Peraza's got that reputation as a very good defender. And we know that reputation as a defender is one thing versus actual production at the major league level. But it's hard to ignore that reputation because it was his calling card as a prospect. He's hit a lot better than I thought he would. Obviously, small sample's a small sample, but his plate discipline looks really good in terms of swinging strike rates. He's not going out there and, waving at everything. He's having good at bats. He's laying off bad pitches. He's swinging at good pitches to swing at. Sometimes making good swing decisions is just what you just have to do as a hitter when you lack the things like just raw power or ridiculous bat speed. You mentioned with Peraza or with Kiner Falefa, how his range is very good. You could definitely look at him and say, okay, if you want to have Peraza on this postseason roster, if push comes to shove, what if you have a third base issue, which you currently have, right? Donaldson's had a subpar month of September now, or month ever since September started. His WRC plus is a 96, kind of dragged down by a really bad October, but it's not trending in the right direction for Josh Donaldson. And then DJ LeMahieu is coming off of an injury, and there are question marks as to whether he'll ever hit the way he was hitting in the first half. If Kiner Falefa continues to hit the way he had been hitting, in the month of September, you could see him maybe playing some third base. We know, as it was well documented last year, he won a Gold Glove there. It's kind of been discussed all year as he struggled at third base and Donaldson has struggled to hit at the plate. There's been constant discussions about maybe Kiner Falefa should be the third baseman. You can definitely do something there. Peraza provides a lot of speed. He's in the 87th percentile in sprint speed. You mentioned the arm. You mentioned the good plays. I mean, Peraza just does a lot of things very well. And as a bottom of the lineup guy, he reminds me a little bit of what Bader does for the Yankees, right? Good defense, speedy guy. And he's not a bad hitter per se, but you're not expecting a ton out of him offensively. The contact rate's there. He's a decently aggressive guy. He doesn't just go up there looking to walk. He goes up there looking to have a good at bat. And I'm not going to sit here and say some superstar per se, but I'm going to sit here and tell you, I think he's a pretty good player. And I ultimately think that the Yankees are going to be in a good situation if Peraza is getting at bats or playing shortstop versus Kiner Falefa, because of the fact that I know he's going to make routine plays. And I'm really worried about the routine plays in October, right? I'm worried about the slow roller to Kiner Falefa or, chopper to Kiner Falefa that just eats him up. He gets to the spot. It's not like he doesn't get to the spot. He has great range, but he doesn't really convert those opportunities as much as he should. So it's definitely going to be an interesting discussion the Yankees are going to have. And them continuing to play him so much is interesting. I wonder if they'll put him on the roster. I would put him on the roster, at least have him as insurance. And, worst case scenario, you have a good pinch runner who can come in as a late game substitution. So I think Peraza has a lot of value to his team. I think he has a lot of value to the roster. And I think this is a good experience for him if he gets onto the postseason roster.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, he's getting a lot of reps right now with the regular season ending today and winding down the last couple days. He's been kind of injected into the lineup already. Currently, the game is ongoing, and he's already got on base and has a run. So, already making an impact. He's been a pretty solid offensive contributor. When most thought, he'd offer you good defense immediately, he's actually been pretty solid on the offensive side as well. On the season, he's already hitting 319 with almost a 40% on base rate over 17 games. That's a decent sample size, about half the sample size than Matt Carpenter, a little bit less, had. And he has 1 homer and 2 RBIs and 7 runs scored, only a 15% strikeout rate and 7.5% walk rate. Pretty solid. He's actually his WRC plus in that time span. Again, small sample size, 147 WRC plus. That indicates he's 47% better than the average player. In the month of September, though, hit 313 with a 40.5% on base rate. Had a couple RBI, had an RBI, had a couple walks. Struck out 6 times in 32 at bats. Not bad to start October, hitting 333 with a 37.5% on base rate and 533 slugging and 908 OPS. He's looked pretty solid. The question is, can you actually trust him in the postseason? The obvious answer is no. He has no postseason experience. He barely has any regular season experience. Can you really inject him into the mix right now? No. And that's not, I don't think that's kind of the argument. A lot of people are like, if Peraza had more reps, he would be in the postseason roster. He'd be starting. I still don't even think that's necessarily true. I think that he should be included on the postseason roster just in case anything were to happen to IKF, just in case IKF struggles to a degree that you simply just can't play the guy. Like he's botching games or he is just a liability at all times. In that scenario, yes, you replace him with Peraza, but you just need him as a reserve. You need another reserve infielder here. DJ LeMahieu, he just grounded into another double play like 2 minutes ago. He's not looking altogether that great. He doesn't have a lot of time to ramp up. Can we rely on him? I'd rather have him in than Peraza every day of the week, obviously. But if that injury starts to take hold and he can't run properly, he can't do his basic duties properly, you need a reserve. And Peraza is a good option to have on the back end if need be. Do you think the argument that like he should be starting over IKF, some people have brought that up on social media, is kind of out there? I don't necessarily agree with it. I think that if Peraza had a half a season of work under his belt, I could buy into that. I could really commit to saying, okay, that's a discussion we need to have. Like Cortez just outplaying Garrett Cole this year. But right now, I think having him on the postseason roster is simply just as a good defensive reserve. At the very least, he's going to contribute that, and then maybe some offensive quality as well.
So one big thing with Peraza versus a lot of the guys in the roster, as you mentioned, he's a rookie, right? Like this is a 22-year-old. He just turned 22 in June. This is a young kid. This is a kid who, this was his first year in AAA. He didn't even get a full season in AAA. He played part of a season in AAA, then got called up to the major league level, and was called up, in the middle of a pennant race. As the Yankees are trying to hunt down and try to stave off the Rays and the Jays when they were really struggling in August. It's hard to ask anyone to take at bats in October. There are things that work in clutch situations that, you gotta be a selective hitter. You gotta be good at guessing pitches. There are certain things that it is not easy to perform under pressure, right? I think anyone who's ever done anything related to athletics, no matter what level you've done it at, if you've ever felt any pressure in your life, it is difficult. It is not the same as practice, right? Practice and game reps are not the same thing. But what I will say for Peraza is, we don't know the makeup of this kid. We don't know how the Yankees view this kid. You mentioned, as insurance, right? Like there's that added aspect of he's insurance, yeah, but he's also getting the experience of being in a playoff atmosphere. I don't want to compare Peraza to Jeter. I do not believe Oswald Peraza and Derek Jeter are remotely the same talents, right? They completely different players. With that being said, in 95, the Yankees let Jeter on they brought Jeter with them on that playoff run in 95 and that ALDS against the Mariners. I think that served well for him. I think, if you go back and you could ask, if you were to ask Jeter how integral that was to him, that he would definitely cite that as a part of what makes, builds character and helps you understand winning. Right? I wouldn't be shocked if they did this with Volpe next year, unless, Volpe tears up AAA. He just rushes his way up here. But this is a good experience for Peraza, right? Even, you don't even have to activate him on the roster. Just have him travel with the team. He needs to be with the team in the postseason, right? I think it's a good experience for him. I think, this is a kid who you're going to rely upon heavily to do things for you down the road in the future, not even down the road, next year. And you know what? If he's activated on the roster, maybe in 2 weeks from now, he'll be doing something that changes the way we view this season, right? It feels like it's tough to just ask a shortstop that's 22 to go out and, have one of the biggest at-bats of the year, right? He could be the guy coming up, with runners on first and second or second and third in the 8th inning of a tie game in Game 5 of the LDS. The Bronx is rocking. All the eyes are on him, and how is he going to react, right? We don't know how Kiner Falefa is going to react. He hasn't played in the postseason, but you know what? If I'm going to ruin someone's confidence, but if you look long term, the consequences to Peraza's confidence being shot versus Kiner Falefa's, one has long-term effects and the other has more short-term effects. You lose your 2022 season. You didn't win the World Series this year. You just kind of lick your wounds and move on to next year. With Peraza, if something like that were to happen, that sticks with you, right? That stays with someone. We don't, sports psychology, the psyche, the mentality that goes into this stuff is hard to quantify, and it's something that gets under-discussed. But am I saying Peraza doesn't have it within him? No, but am I saying it's a risk you're taking? It's part of the conversation. Absolutely. If the Yankees feel he's ready, you know, the guys in the clubhouse, Aaron Boone, they're around him more than I'll ever be around him in my life. They know him better than we do. But if they don't start him in October, I don't think that tells you Peraza isn't a mature kid or he can't handle the situation, but they don't want to force him to do it. They don't want to force him to be in these difficult spots, right? So, you know, pinch running, sure. I mean, that's even tough, right? Pinch running. I mean, you're there to pinch run. You get picked off. I mean, you're every Yankee fan on social media will be wanting you gone from the roster the next day, even though you can't even do that in the postseason. But it's a lot of pressure, and I don't want to ask the kid to bail the Yankees out at shortstop. But if he can't help the Yankees, I'm gladly taking it.
Yeah, if he can help the Yankees, that's the primary thing here. And will he help the Yankees? Probably not, but you know, it's good to always have insurance. And next season, you know, I hope if they don't trade him, that he can play a more integral role here. Maybe take over that shortstop spot full time, or at least split the reps and just play the hot hand with whoever's getting the most production there. But definitely an interesting conversation to have, my friends. Would love to hear your opinions and narratives and perspectives below in the YouTube comments. As always, if you think Oswald Peraza should be on the postseason roster, already has a run today during today's game, which is currently ongoing. So hopefully he contributes a little bit more defensively. Had a couple of nice plays at third base yesterday. So obviously showcase some of those defensive qualities. Definitely excited to see his progression and development over the next couple of months and years. If he sticks around with this Yankee team, it isn't considered a piece of trade bait during the winter months. So we'll see what happens. And obviously have you guys up to date on any news and developments as they unfold. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Make sure to like and subscribe as always. We'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.